I know.
Oh, already going. Rashmi's already onto it. And we went live with the the body whispering focus on inner child today. And I was like, just looking at the registration pages and looking at these two classes together, and what they're going to create for our bodies. And I've been in sessions all day. I realize I'm rambling a bit, but every single session, it's like what's coming up is stuff from when people are children, people are babies, from what their parents have said to them or done to them, and how it's affecting them now in their relationships with their children, the dynamics that are playing out. So I think for me, it becomes very like, I get very excited when I'm like, okay, we're doing classes exactly on these topics so we can help, so many people change this stuff. So I'm grateful and I'm excited and I'm happy to be here and chat with you guys today about more baby whispering stuff and inner child stuff. And yeah, how does it get better?
How
So
does it? How does it? In fact, I feel that if you asked everybody to write like a book on what occurred in their childhood and how it's impacted them in their current life as an adult, I think all of us could probably write a trilogy, right?
yeah, I completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. And
And yet, for those of us, I can speak for myself, as I have chosen to be part of baby whispering classes and various other things that I have done in my life where I have addressed what went on as a child. I have seen myself getting happier and freer. There's no baggage that weighs me down anymore. And it's like, okay, it's a thing of the past, it's done. And now I get to create my life because so much of my energy is freed up from where it has been lying blocked in the past for so many years. And so
yeah,
today I get the freedom to create my life just as I want. And also, I also see how different a parent I am
mm,
because of the contribution that the baby whispering classes and all the work that I've done has been in my life. So, really, thank you for bringing this. And your vast experience working with children is such a huge asset, you know. So, and then there are baby workshops and parenting workshops. And then there are baby workshops and, tools for parents and people wanting to be parents and people who've been kids, to gain from the kind of experience of years that you have working with not just babies, but also with parents and about to be parents and single people. Oh, it's amazing. This class is pretty, actually, the name is pretty misleading,
yeah.
you know.
I know we're going to be at
It's
the
so much
stage where we're like,
more,
we need a name change.
so much more than just baby whispering. It's not just about what babies are whispering to you and what they require, but it's also, so much more.
I totally hear you, and I've had people say even like, why don't you call it at least like baby and child whispering or like baby and toddler whispering, because it's not just defined to the baby at all, and it's not just defined to the dynamic of needing to have a baby for it to be a very healing and empowering class. So, I mean, we're always looking at things, we're always reassessing in my business if there is something to improve and
Yeah,
change. But I know I was a little attached to the fact that the power that comes, for me, how I look at it is if I can just help the babies, let
yeah,
alone the toddlers and the kids and the parents, like if we can change it for one baby because it changes the dynamic for that family and for those parents, then what
absolutely.
it does is it changes not only the experience of that whole child going forward, but what I love about these classes is how it's changing it for the future generations. So, as you very correctly said, I think we could all write a book about the experiences we've had in childhood,
Yeah,
some of them seemingly insignificant, right? But what's the message or the story we took on from it? about how loved we were, or what we were worthy of, or what we deserve, or how we have to show up in life, or what's wrong with us, or if we're smart enough or not. And to not have that be inadvertently passed on to our children and to their children just because it remains unexamined is extremely powerful. And yeah, so yeah, that's one aspect, of the baby whispering class, and why it's so important. I think that if you have children of any age, we really examine how to be empowered parents or teachers, caregivers, or practitioners for them, but also how to stop perpetuating, the things that were done to us because they remained unexamined.
Yeah.
And the story always is we were doing the best for you at the time, which is not untrue either.
Yeah.
Our parents and our grandparents did the best they could with the tools they knew at the time.
They didn't have a baby whispering class to go to.
But the other thing is, Smriti, it's very humbling to hear you say that, because you, like someone like yourself and many of the participants in our classes, including baby whispering, they've done a lot of other work. They've done other modalities. They're parents themselves. They've attended parenting workshops, consciousness classes, a lot of other things. And to hear you say, there's still something different about baby whispering. There's still value that you gain from attending that class, and that has changed something for you, or many things for you as a parent.
I'm right now getting goosebumps as you say it, because that's so true. And no matter how many workshops we may have attended, but I think uh, every um, every, if the word is modality, brings you something unique and something different, because it's an energy that facilitator has tapped into, and there are zillions of energies available to us to change things. And so I may have grabbed 5 pieces here and there, and here's another one that probably ends up helping me piece it all together. So I feel the whispering classes, I know this is about baby whispering, but I feel that every whispering class, whether it's business whispering, body whispering, has been such an amazing contribution to bring everything about together. So I feel that everything contributes. And so I love, you can call me a workshop junkie, but I feel that every class that I go to shifts something in my life. There's something that I may have heard thousands of times before in even different kinds of workshops, but suddenly, ting, it like falls in place. So, yeah, and the concept that life is whispering is something I got from you, and I'm just so grateful for that, because now I tend to listen more to what is whispering to me all the time. So, yeah. And
Thank
then
you so
addition of this
much.
inner child focus class, phenomenal. I love.
I'm so, oh my God. I know I'm meant to be talking about baby whispering, but holy moly, the inner child class, just seeing the registration page go live today, and I realized just how deep it's going to go. I invite you all to join us. It's live on the website now. A really large part of baby whispering is what you're talking about, though, with that being empowered. I think everyone is aware of the whispers, but when you're a mother, there's almost nothing as strong as mother's intuition, right? I think every mother can attest that mother's intuition exists. In today's day and age, there's been this very interesting phenomena of actually an overwhelm of information. When somebody has a child, the doctors, the GPs, their mother-in-law, their friends, the baby group, Dr. Google, everyone has information that they're telling these mothers and young families about what should be happening, how to do stuff, how to train your kids, how to get your kids to behave, what age they should be sleeping, eating, walking, learning. And what it does is it can disconnect a mother from her intuition, because it creates some doubt and uncertainty, either around who should I be listening to, or my child isn't doing that, but my gut is telling me something, but it's not matching all of this other information I'm receiving. So then the mothers don't know what to do, who to listen to, and how to get the help that their child may or may not require. And so a large part of baby whispering is about empowering each and every parent to be the baby whisperer that they are, which is listening to their gut instinct, to getting the child the help or creating their home environment in a way that will work for their child and therefore create the greatest outcomes. You know, parents are coming to me because they're very, very frustrated. They're in pain because their kids are in pain, either physically or behaviorally. They're not able to perform academically in the way they need to, or they're allergic to everything around them, or the mother knows something is wrong, or their child is anxious, and no one is either listening to them or able to give them the tools or the information that will help that particular child. And so baby whispering is about reminding the mother that, hey, even if nobody else has believed you or listened to you, I think what you think is very important. I think your gut instinct is not only important, but also true. And this is what we can do to work with your child, support your child. And these are the things you may not know. These are the tools you may not have discovered. This is the information nobody else may have presented to you until now to help you do that better. But not because you've been doing anything wrong, just because you didn't have everything you needed until now.
I so agree with that. I remember when my daughter was, in like, we have this concept of pre-nursery. So you have to go to the play school and things like that. And, so I attended a parent-teacher meeting where it was like a group meeting. And I heard all the things that the moms were doing to prepare the children to get admissions in the bigger school. And I realized that I've been such a bad mom because I've
Yeah.
done none of it. And my child is not the kind who likes to go to all these various classes. And I never pushed. And I would hear, but you've got to push your child. How will your child know what, they wanted, blah, 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 blah. And then I went up to the teacher later and I said, Miss, I have not done any of these things. And you think I should be doing all this? And it's like is it a bit too late now? Because the school admissions are like just around the corner. And she said, Mrs. Shavdasani, please just be who you are because your child is really the best in the class. So just be that way. And I just felt so relieved. It was like a validation of sorts that no, you're not a bad mom. And I just followed what worked for my child. And today I see she's such an amazing child. She's grown up so level headed and she's still not into 50 classes and all of that. And
Yeah.
yet she's fine. The
And it's
other,
always the best mums. I work with such amazing mums, and they are the ones that will be like, I feel like a bad mum. And I'm like, oh my God, if you were my mum, I'd just be like, so, like these mums are doing the best they can. They're, just amazing mums. And yet, I think also what your story demonstrates is how much this whole mum guilt and feeling like a bad mum and feeling like no matter what you do, it's never enough, or still being in doubt when that outside comparison or that infiltration of the outside world comes in. And it can make it a really hard journey, I think.
I know if I told anybody that I haven't attended to my child's studies or never supervised her studies for the last, whatever, she's in the 9th grade now, and I haven't supervised her since the 3rd grade, they'll say, really? Like, I really have no idea, but she does well. But I give her everything that she requires. So there's
Yeah.
another thing, Adila, I wanted to talk about is while there are certain children who are so communicative, like they'll talk, they'll tell you what happened, who's doing what, who are their friends and stuff. And then there are children who refuse, like, who will talk very selectively, who will like not give you too much, information as to what's going on. I think over there also these skills have helped me personally. I can speak for myself that they have really helped me personally, where I can gauge, okay, you are not telling me really anything, but somehow I have the sense to know what piece of information to give you when I don't know, I can't base it on logic, but I know that my child requires this piece of information at this point of time, and I'll just drop it
Yeah.
for her to do what she's got to do. And I think that's another advantage I've had, that even if the child is not a very if the child is a quiet child,
Yeah.
uh, may not tell you, but you can tap in as to
You
what's really
absolutely
required.
can. Yeah. And that's one of the beauties, I think, of all the whispering classes, but especially baby whispering, is it's like, it's obviously not wrong that your child isn't a talkative child.
Hmm.
I think there's a difference between you knowing as a parent, oh, my child is just being themselves, and they're not a, chatterbox like everyone else's child seems to be, versus something's not quite right. My
Yeah.
child is quiet, but is also withdrawn, sullen, seems to be upset, seems to be anxious, something else is going on. This is where that intuition is so important, that baby whispering or child whispering is so important. And at that point, whether you have an open discussion, like, hey, I feel like something's going on, what is it? Or you intuitively tap into and you like talk to them or mention something that is what they require to hear. I think the bottom line is creating children who feel very, very supported and
Yeah.
loved. You know, um, children children advertently or inadvertently are feeling not unconditionally loved and supported. So I didn't phrase that well, but this thing that children require most of all is to be unconditionally loved and feel supported. I think that's what anyone needs, even as adults. All we're
Oh,
looking
yeah.
for is to feel unconditionally loved and supported. When children don't feel that, even if it's not the parent's intention, you might think you're doing your best to discipline them or teach them, you know, good skills or values for the future. But if that child doesn't regard what you're doing in that same way, and they take it as being punished or needing to start hiding things from you or not being able to go to you when they need support, and they can start to withdraw and feel like they don't have the support and love they need when they are in crisis or in trouble, then then we do have issues with children, and we need to do a lot of work then on re-establishing trust between the parent and child and the child and the parent, re-establishing communication and feeling supported. And that can occur from a very young age, and it can be inadvertent. And the reason I say that is I've worked with so many situations. Sometimes there's been an accident in the family. Sometimes there's a massive trauma going on in another part of that parent's life. And so they can't be there for the child. But the message the child receives is, Mum, I'm not important, or Mummy doesn't love me. And then, the other really common one, I think we all know about the second child or the third child coming along, and the first child, like sometimes we try to overcompensate, but there are normally some things that are going on for that first child when another child comes along. And so there's all these things that shape our perception of the world. And what we're trying to do is just make it as much of a conscious approach as possible, because it's not about getting it right all the time. It's not about doing it perfectly. But as you say, like 9 times out of 10, you can ignore a situation because it's actually not important. But that one time that your child is not okay and does require you to be fully attentive and present in that moment, if you can be aware of that and respond to that moment at that time, it will change the outcomes for the future. So it's about doing it consciously rather than doing it right or doing it perfectly all of the time.
Gosh, I'm such a classic representation of first child syndrome. There were so many things that my siblings were allowed to do that I wasn't allowed to do at that age, right? So I had like so many of these ohs in my life, and it took me so many workshops to undo that and look at it from a place of allowance, that they did the best that they could.
I'm the third child, so I have no such qualms, but my elder sisters might might have some things to talk to you about. Uh,
Oh
so
God. So one of the modules at the Baby Whispering can be first child syndrome.
yeah, and then of course there's middle child, the overlooked
Oh
child,
gosh. Oh yeah, that one. That's another big one.
you
Yes.
know. Um,
Topic
so
for a focus class, perhaps.
the middle child. Yeah. So guys, I know that there is so much information to cover around baby whispering. We've created it this time for that reason as a one-day class instead of a half-day class like it used to be. And what's actually going to happen is next year, so we're not rushing the process, we want to get this as comprehensive as possible. Next year, our target is to make it a certified class as well. So someone can do the baby whispering class with us, plus they're going to have additional resources which will allow them to be a certified baby whispering practitioner or child whispering practitioner. If you're an existing body whisperer, it's just going to go beautifully to complement what you're already doing. It doesn't stop you from working on children now. It's just that there's so much additional information that can be helpful when working with pregnant women, babies, or children, that I just, for anyone particularly interested in that, I want to create it as a specialty add-on for you guys. So I just wanted to give you that information because there is a lot of information we cover in the baby whispering class. What we're going to do in tomorrow's class is it's a full day class split into kind of two main groups. The first half, we're going to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. We're going to facilitate. I'm going to give you the information. We're going to do clearings on all of the things that come up for parents, children, behavioral issues, disorders, whatever it is that you would like more help on. And then in the second half of the day, we're going to start workshopping, giving you the practical tools and applications. I know last year we ran out of time, and I wanted to give you guys more takeaways for what to do in your homes and in your practices when you're working with your kids or when you're dealing with your kids. So we're going to workshop through some like exercises, some tools, some tips, some techniques, so that you leave the class with the clearing and the energetic healing you would like from attending the class, but also feeling like you've got some real practical tools to utilize as a parent or as a practitioner with children from any age, from 0 through to the teenagers. So I hope that answers your information about what the class is, and I'm very happy now. I want to open up to the floor, and whatever your questions are, your comments are, or whatever support you might be looking for with your children or in your practice, I'd love to answer your questions for you. So how can I help? And you're welcome to unmute yourself, or you can type into the chat box.
And the class is tomorrow.
The class is tomorrow, guys, and it's super exciting. If we'll post the link here, but if you haven't registered yet, go and register. You get lifetime access to that replay. Like I said, next year you'll be able to just add on the certification part to it. So we will credit you for attending this year's classes. We don't want to make you wait a whole year for this information that could be changing your life now, just because you want to wait for the certification status. So we will still honor you having done this class now. This is a new class in the current format. But what would you like to know? And the price is incredible. It is $199 if you are from Australasia, Asia Pacific, and it is $249 if you're from UK, Europe, or the Americas. So we're trying to make it just value packed and such a contribution to you and your families. Yeah, what are your questions?
Adila, I just wanted to ask, will it be an energetic class like body whispering, or it will be more like practical tools and clearings will be there? So how we can work on kids and babies? So I was like, I couldn't understand that.
Right. The working on babies part is probably more if you're already doing so. So if you're already a body whisperer, if you're already any kind of practitioner or facilitator who's already working with children, this is a great class to add on. If you currently don't work with children, I'm not going to be teaching you the body whispering session to do on the children. That is in the body whispering class, the 2-day class that you would attend. But it will be an energetic class, as in when you attend this class, you will receive the clearing and the healing for yourself or for your family or for your child that you can take away. For example, a lot of people here have done some sort of consciousness work, some classes, whether it's Access or Reiki or something else. When you attend this class, when you go back home or you're working with your child or your child is having an issue in your home, you might realize, I hadn't thought of this particular thing that we discussed in the class. And you can take that approach or use that information or use that clearing that we did and see if it helps contribute to your child in that moment or to start changing the situation that you're dealing with. So it's not going to be, again, it's a 1-day class, so there's just not enough time to teach you how to work on children from go if you don't already know how to, plus give you all the additional information I'd like to. This is a class, if you're already a parent, you're already parenting every day. This is just going to contribute to that journey every day. It might really help you in any area that you're particularly stuck in. So, for example, I've had parents in the past attend this class because their child is not learning well. Their child is highly allergic to a lot of things and doesn't eat a lot of foods, is very fussy. Maybe they have major behavioral issues. I've had other people whose child has been diagnosed with a certain illness or disorder. Other children who the parents are just like, something's not quite right, or they're not keeping up with their peers, or they're worried because their child is highly humanoid and is not fitting in to what they're meant to be doing in terms of schedules in the day, in the week, with going to school, etc. Had a cool conversation earlier this week with Winda and Imelda from Indonesia. We were doing a Facebook Live, and they were saying how come more and more children are highly energetic beings, like they're presenting as these kids who are like super humanoid, or they're like very intuitive. They're just not, they're not fitting in. They're not doing what they were meant to do as children. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, children went to school, they did what they were meant to, they listened to their parents. And even me in practice over the last 5 years compared to the previous 5, I have definitely noticed an increase. Nearly every child that comes in through my door is highly intuitive, is what we would call humanoid, is very emotionally aware, is often hypersensitive, is not listening or not fitting into school, or is not following the schedule, or can't sit for longer than 20 minutes. And the parents are wondering what's wrong with their child and how they can make them fit in. But the fact is, most children, or more and more children, are like that right now. So how do we start changing our approach and finding more peace and ease with how we are parenting, what our environments are like, and how we can make our lives much more conducive to supporting these children to be the amazing beings that they are. So that is everything we're going to cover from a parenting perspective. And then for the practitioners and facilitators, as I facilitate, it'll give you more information and ideas, but also I'll be talking to you about what tools I recommend, what clearings you can use, what practical changes I recommend that parents institute or facilitators or practitioners recommend to their clients to help these kids and these families integrate with greater ease into having a life that works without making anyone wrong.
I have a question. Yeah.
Go for
So,
it, Kanika.
Adila, I'd attended your 3-hour baby whispering, I think last month it was. So this is going to be an extension with the tools and the questions, or is it going to be more on the inner child that you'll be doing on the 26th? So is it going to be a little
Sorry, can you
different?
say that again? You did my baby whispering last month or last year?
Last month, I think it was a 3-hour class.
That was the focus class on money?
No, it was baby whispering, something on baby. Yeah, I think it
Are you
was.
sure? I haven't. What class are you
Kanika
doing?
did, Adila, Kanika did the half day baby
Yeah.
whispering class.
We had the baby whispering during a
was
weekend.
about
I think it was on a Saturday or something. It
3
was a
months
3-hour
back.
class.
Was it this year or in December?
This year, this 2-3
Yeah, in
months
December.
back. December,
Oh,
It was
okay,
in
sorry,
December.
that's why I was getting confused.
So
Yeah.
I just want to know, because those tools were amazing. I just want to know if there's if that this class is going to be a little extension of what we did in the 3-hour class, and much
It
more.
will be, yeah, it will definitely be, it'll be an extension for sure. My ask, like, we're doing a deeper dive in this class as far as I'm concerned. When we have a 3-hour class, I have to really try and get everything into 3 hours. And when we have a full day class, what it allows me to do is go deeper as well as broader. So the tools you already have, we will be giving you different tools as well as elaborating. In a 3-hour class, I kind of need to skim sometimes or give you the very pertinent information. But with this class, we're going to be able to really understand the theory and the practical applications behind it. So I feel like even if you did that class in December, you're going to feel like you've just kind of done like the PhD version as opposed to doing like the introduction version. And we will, if you then want to go on next year and do the certification, we will take this class, like we will credit you for this class. So you won't have to repeat it again next year. I'm just going to add on more training videos for you. So you'll just have to purchase the supplementary rather than repurchase the whole thing.
Okay, that's great. And what about the inner child? There's another class coming up, the inner child. How different is that to tomorrow's class?
That is for you. So baby whispering, we will very much be focusing as much as we can. There is some healing work for the parents that inadvertently always occurs in the baby whispering class, and understanding and recognizing your pain and your past experiences that are being reflected to you in the baby whispering class as a parent right now. But the inner child class is just this deep dive into how everything you do is being triggered by the experiences you had as a child, a baby, or an adolescent. And it's quite different. So it's not really to do with your journey as a parent right now, though it will still be applicable. It is very much looking at the things that you may need to still heal and reconcile in your body, your mind, or your energy that still exist from when all of the experiences you had as a child, and how to fill that unconditional love and support quota, how to bring that really up for you, and how you can integrate that now as the adult you are and change your life now by healing your inner child from the past.
Okay, that's clear now. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
We've just added a lot of you wonderful, amazing people are doing a lot of the focus classes, because we do one each month now, and they're always on some amazing topic. And I just want you to know that to make it a bit easier, we have just introduced a package price. So instead of buying each one individually, I've listed the rest of the topics for the rest of the year. So if you see that and you realize you want to do most, if not all of them, I've given you like a good $400 discount off buying them separately. So that's another option that is now on the inner child registration page.
Adila, there are questions on the chat. Do you want me to read? And especially one where someone's asked, will kids be required to be around during this class?
They do not need to be around. I encourage them to be around. You'll be able to take this stuff and apply it in your life. And what I recommend is just have the kids around, like walking around, doing their kiddie things. They don't have to sit and focus during the class, but just being around the class, or even you doing the class in the home, will change and shift stuff for the children. And a really important aspect is that the parents will heal, and that will be a reflection in the children as a byproduct of this class. Okay, so the parent attending the child and changing something for themselves will create a change in the behavior and the energy of the child, because it's a reflection.
You're mute.
Does that answer your question?
So, Adila, will you be covering the X-Men or what's called special child in this reality? So that will also be covered in the baby whispering class.
Yeah, most children these days are on the spectrum of something. Okay, most of the kids are, like I say, they're ADD, they're ADHD, they have dyslexia, they have learning difficulties, they have sensory processing disorder, they have been diagnosed with something, and they, in my opinion, are just normal. They are today's children. They are probably us if we still grew up, and I think the previous generations had grown up in a time where the conditioning was great enough in our environments to get us to conform. So even the very humanoid people, there was still a level of needing to conform, or you were labeled with a diagnosis, and it was a pretty clear distinction, right? In the recent years, what's happened from this generation onwards, so the millennials are quite different, the younger millennials, the new generation coming up, and all of the kids born in the last 5 to 10 years, that delineation is not there anymore. Most children, most of us, are expressing our X-Men capacities, our differences. Most of us are on the spectrum some way or the other, and it's not wrong. And so I don't even, while I do a lot of work with people with the diagnoses, I do a lot more work with just people who are in the gray area that would probably be diagnosed if it was up to this reality. But the fact is, it's just how most of us have these tendencies that we have not acknowledged until now. And that's why I talk about how can we create the empowerment and create environments that are much more supportive of these children being able to excel, rather than trying to make them need to conform, which creates wrongness, creates separation, and does not set them up for success. Whereas you can take that same child, and if you empower them and give them an environment that contributes to them, they'll become the next genius. And if you do the opposite, they'll be diagnosed as a label or dysfunctional and be regarded as a special needs child for the rest of their life. So how do we bring out the genius in each child, no matter what the label is?
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Adila, following up the question, Surubi has something saying she won't be able to attend it where the kids are probably, and is that equally contributive?
100% equally contributive. Also, you get, like I said, lifelong access to the video and audio replay. You can play it again when you're around your child if you want to at any time. Secondly, the tools that I'll teach you, or the techniques, or the healing exercise, or the clearings. I'm not quite sure which one of the many, many tools we're going to be adding in, but there'll be multiple tools and clearings, and probably some audio loops that I share with you. And you will be able to just play that in your home or around your child following the class. So they don't need to be in the same place as you at the time of the class at all. You're so welcome. No, there isn't a manual for baby whispering as yet. When it's a certified course, what the plan is they'll actually be training videos with worksheets to work through. There's actually too much information for a manual, so I don't have the capacity right now to write you a 5,000 page manual for baby whispering. So what we'll do is we'll do this class, and there'll probably only be one other baby whispering class this year because our class schedule is pretty full. I know it's an important class, but we just run out of time, literally. And so what I want to do is let people know that this class only happens twice a year. Next year, we want to make it a certified class, and that's why the training portion will be videos rather than a live class that you can do at your leisure. And then what we're going to do is start training up the other facilitators who do a lot of work with babies and children, who can come on and start helping me with facilitating this class, but all of the other classes. As you guys know, we're in the process of the certified practitioner and then facilitators training for body whispering and business whispering. So then next year we'll be able to start rolling that out for baby whispering too. Great questions. Is there any other questions? Any other questions about parenting or your child or children or different things that you're wondering if the class will help with? Because I'd love to know what you need, what you require.
Actually, I wanted to do this class because I want to enhance the relationship with my daughter. Now, people will be thinking like mother-daughter relationship, but I'm always worried for her, and somewhere now I started feeling because of her I'm not able to grow in my career. So that feeling is inside me, but I'm not able to express. So sometimes I will get angry on her. So, and she will also get frustrated that nowadays mommy is not giving me time, and she's always angry. So I just I want to enhance the relationship, and I feel many are suffering my age. I talk to my friends, so they all say yes, it is happening because we all have studied, and now we are thinking like, oh, we have studied, so higher studied we have done, why to sit at home and take care of the baby? So all the frustration is going on the kids only. So that's
I get it. It's a very real frustration, and it's worldwide. I think every parent or mother especially goes through some form of this. This will be great for that, because it will be helpful for you to get back in touch with the contribution that your child actually is or can be, if you allow that two-way communion to occur. Children, babies are highly contributory to our resources, to our work, to whatever we want to do in life, if we're willing to have that approach and that communion. Like anything in life, something can be a problem or a burden, or it can be a contribution or a possibility. So if you're feeling stuck, how can we turn that into a relationship that is very much contributing to the possibilities in your life and helping you more and more, and unsticking you from all of those thoughts and feelings rather than perpetuating them?
okay. So lots of things, lots of contribution you are giving for the class.
Yeah, well, the kids are the contribution. It's just sometimes what I found is they need a translator sometimes, and that's my role. Just like with all the other classes, with the whispering classes, the information is always there, the contribution already exists, but we need sometimes help in translating the whispers or translating the energetic information into understanding it and being able to apply it to our lives. So with baby whispering, you know, there is so much greatness in that relationship between children and parents, and yet I see parents just completely missing the fun and enjoyment and pleasure of that journey because they're so caught up in everything else. And how do we get you back in tune and aligned with your relationship with your child and enjoy the journey, receive contribution from them as much as you contribute to them as the parent? It's not a one-way street, but it can really feel like a one-way street. So how do we shift that, and how do we get you receiving from your child as well as contributing to them?
Yeah, thank you for the clarity.
You're so welcome. And we'll start wrapping up shortly, guys, but I've got time for maybe 2 more questions. So any other burning questions or queries about parenting in general, babies or children, or the class itself? How many people are going to now be attending the class? Hands up or type yes if you're going to be
If
joining us.
no one is asking, can I ask one more question? If no
Yes,
one is
go
asking,
for it.
then
Yeah.
okay. So it is like more about the junk food also. Like in body class and all, we just got the information that just let your kid eat whatever they want, their body require. But when again it comes to the junk food and all, like it is very tough to see kid eating junk foods and allow them to eat. Like like I'm just like stuck in this. Like somewhere in my mind, I think no. In body class, they have told your body knows everything. You should not stop it. And then now again, it is a contradictory statement of what I see for me, especially. So when my daughter eats, I sometimes I allow, but when it is too much, I will scold her like anything. That
Cool.
because yeah, because I am like a little, oh, not little, I'm overweight, so I just feel if she should also not become like me, and I will be always scolding her like for this.
I have a lot of families and parents I work with that also do that, you know, the whole projecting and the weight and the body image stuff. And a large component of this class is around communication, because we sometimes think if we don't say it, then children don't know that we're thinking it or projecting it at them, which is really not true. You know, we have to be more careful of what we're projecting at our children rather than saying it. Because children also don't listen to what we say. They actually get their information from watching what we do, picking up on what we do, and interacting with the energy that we be around them. And so there's a few points to what you've said, which will definitely go into the food thing in the class. But to help you out right now, the important thing here is to get back to your intuitive information. So don't let your mind overrun, like don't let your preconceived judgments or your mind take over. And then at the same time, be honoring of what you know and what is true for you. So if there is a lot of junk food in the house, if that is what you are eating, then that is also what your child is going to be predisposed to eating. Now, if you want your child to make better choices with food, have better choice of food available in the house, because there's lots of yummy food that's healthier. And is that what you're choosing to eat, or are they seeing you eat one thing and then feeling scolded for making the same choice? So there's these incongruencies that we need to become aware of, because children aren't listening to what we say. They're watching what we do, and they're interacting with the energy that we are providing them with. And if we project that energy of making them wrong, or that if you eat that, you're going to be fat, or if you eat that, you know, something bad is going to happen, then it's not going to create a great relationship for them in the future with food either. And that's why this work, and that's why the inner healing and the body whispering work and the body class is not wrong. It's not wrong with the information you got, but it's our interpretation and then our mind that we still don't allow our body to run the show. We still use our judgment and then create this discrepancy between what would actually create the greatest and the need to control.
Oh, thank you. It was really an awareness for me. Now I really understood why she is eating so much, like that much of junk food and all. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
isn't it
you.
amazing? We're going to do a lot of work as we finish up. I'll just say this, and as we close up, is we're going to do a lot of work on the communication, like the energetic communication between parents, children, and families, because that is what is creating the outcomes for our children. I cannot say this enough. It does not matter what we say to our children. We can say one thing all day long. And if kids don't feel that, if they don't perceive an energetic congruence with the words you say, and if kids don't feel safe, do not feel empowered, do not feel emotionally valued and safe in their homes, we're going to have issues with our children. And a lot of that is because there's a discrepancy between what we're presenting energetically versus what we're saying verbally. So that means if you have a child and you say, I love you very much and I only want what's best for you and I'm always going to protect you. And yet every time that child is in a fight with their sibling or their cousin, you always take the other person's side and your child never feels supported or loved. The message that they believe and that they get energetically is mummy never supports me, or I'm always wrong, or she always takes the other person's side. So instances like that where, or if we're saying to the child, there's nothing to worry about, everything's fine, and yet behind closed doors, we're always fighting with our partner, our children don't care what we're saying. They're picking up and they're receiving the feedback about how emotionally and physically safe they are at all times by receiving the feedback through the energy, the information, the environment, and the cues from your body and your mind. So verbal communication is it's right at the bottom of the list when it comes to how our children are communicating with us. All that other stuff will precede and will determine the outcomes for our children. So we've got to pay attention to that stuff, okay? We're going to go into that a lot in the class, so don't worry. And I've got a raised hand here. Deepthi, how can I help?
Hi. So what you were saying, often about parents saying we love and protect you, and then just, always. So I have a younger sister, and that's something I grew up with, right? Like I was told, oh, we love and protect you, but I was never given a choice. It was always like, let her have what she wants, or even if I had a choice, she was allowed to take it away from me. Now I have a 2-year-old, but because I struggle with the concept that I have choices, because somewhere in my reality, I said, okay, choice is dangerous. It's no point because I will get disappointed, right? It doesn't matter if I choose, it'll get taken away from me. Now that is something I'm struggling with, trying not to pass on to my child. I don't want to be afraid of choices, right? So, and I've taken a bunch of access classes, I'm working on it, but how do I ensure that while I'm working on it, I'm not passing this on unconsciously?
Well, actually, the fact that you're so aware and conscious of it actually stops that occurring anyway. The greater thing that might occur, and I see all the time, we'll work on this, is the possibility of overcorrecting.
Sorry, the possibility of?
Overcorrecting. So I'll have people who really don't want to repeat something that happened with them, their children, to experience what they went through. So they overcompensate, they overcorrect. So in not wanting your child to be afraid of choices or not feeling like things will always be taken away from them, you might give them too much choice too early on. You might give them everything they want. You might give them so much that they feel that they are either spoiled, like you might end up with a child who is spoiled or is always taken care of or always gets what they want, or always feels so supported like there's no consequences for their actions because mummy's always got their back, right?
Right.
So I don't actually see for me, when I work with parents, like, you're so aware of what you experienced. I'm not really worried about you repeating that with your child, but we actually go in the opposite way and sometimes overcorrect. And that's something you might want to look at. And this is why this class and then the inner child class is so great, because the way to actually get free of it once and for all is to go internally and heal what it is for you that remains unreconciled, that creates that emotional charge for you, that stops you from just being a neutral parent and allowing your child to be who they are and do what they do, and then just responding to them rather than having a preconceived idea of what you want to be like or not be like, or who you want them to be like, or what you want their experience to be.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Thank
That's a
you.
great question, though. Thank you so much. And if there was one thing I would say to everyone, the one thing we are always doing, I have one goal or target or outcome I want to achieve with the work we do. It's to get us to neutral. It's to get us to being healed of the things that create polarity or charge, where we feel that we have hurts that we're still holding on to, that takes us out of being present, takes us out of having complete choice, and takes us out of all of the possibility that exists in that moment. Because when we are not neutral, then we are polarized and we are acting in alignment or agreement or in resistance or reaction to something. And that's when we come out of making a conscious choice and we go into a triggered response. So all of the work we do is around getting you out of a triggered response, out of your subconscious behaviors, and into being aware and conscious of and being in the present moment, because your past hurts are not running your life in the present moment.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for the wonderful questions, guys. And it's amazing how quickly an hour goes. So I will wrap up here, and I hope this has been of value to you. And I would really love to invite you to the class tomorrow. It's going to be not only valuable for now, but hopefully forever. You know, once you become conscious with parenting, you don't forget the skills and you won't lose the skills, and you can't go backwards with that change in your child's life. So really, I'm inviting you and your families and anyone you know. There are absolutely no prerequisites to this class. You don't have to know me or body whispering work or access work. This is a class that I present in a very open way for people from any background, with any number of children or no children yet, if they're thinking about having kids or they're dealing with fertility. This class is here to be informative and practical, as well as healing and energetic for people from any background. So if you know someone that you think would benefit from it, I would love you to share it with them. And then, yeah, I would also love to invite you to the Inner Child Healing Workshop next Friday. So this time in a week from now. And that class is even cheaper, if I may say so myself. It's $99 for a 3-hour class, or $125 for a 3-hour class. So these classes I'm doing are designed to be accessible to as many people as possible, given how much value and experience I have. So yes, they still cost something, but hopefully they're at a price point where people can start to get the information they need. So thank you so much, and lots of love to you all, and lots of love to your children. And I hope to see a lot of you tomorrow. If you have questions, you can message me on Facebook or Instagram, or reach out to the team. Okay, see you later, guys.